there. This is Spay Neuter Network Live. I'm Dr. Mark Stickney, and we are broadcasting from the Spay Neuter Network studios here in San Antonio, Texas. We are going to talk about a lot of different things today. We are going to discuss big events happening with Spay Neuter Network in your area. We are going to talk about many different things related to responsible pet health care for our dogs and our cats. February is a big month for awareness of pets and various health conditions, so we're going to talk about that. We are going to answer some questions and take some questions live while we're here today. So with that, let's see what I can tell you. What's happening with Spay Neuter Network? Quite a bit. This entire month of February, all feral and community cats can get spayed or neutered for only $20 at Spay Neuter Network. So if there are any cats that roam around your neighborhood, that call your neighborhood home, but make no one's particular house their port of call, then those are the cats we're talking about. So the entire month of February, $20 to spay or neuter feral cats, community cats. You can't beat that. So keep that in mind and get out your traps and get ready to round up some of those kitties. February 24, toward the end of the month, we'll be having a vaccine clinic at Sycamore Park in Fort Worth from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. And at that vaccine clinic, we will be giving away free vaccinations. It will be free rabies vaccines for dogs and cats, free FVRCP vaccines for cats, and free distemper parvo vaccines for dogs. That again is going to be on February 24, free vaccine clinic, Sycamore Park in Fort Worth from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. When we get into the beginning of March, March 2nd, we will be having another vaccine clinic, and that one will be right here in San Antonio at Spay Neuter Network, and I'll be there for it. Again, we will be doing free vaccines. There will be free rabies for dogs and cats, free FVRCP vaccines for cats, and free distemper parvo vaccines for dogs. You can't beat $20 for community feral cats. It's great for spaying and neutering, and you can't beat free for vaccinating animals. So mark that date on your calendar as well here in San Antonio, March 2nd, and we'll be here from 8 to 11 for that free vaccine clinic. On March 5, if you live in Lake Highlands or anywhere within driving distance, Spay Neuter Network will be having a fundraiser at Fish City Grill. And 15% of all of the profits made that day will be donated to Spay Neuter Network. So when you go in, be sure to let them know that you are here to support us, to support Spay Neuter Network, and part of what you enjoy and eat, part of those funds will come back to help us and help pets in our community. So, some big days. Don't worry if you didn't catch the exact dates, the exact time. You can always go and find all of the details at spayneuternet.org. That is our website for Spay Neuter Network, and that has all of the most current information on everything that we are doing. So bookmark that website and go back to it frequently. As I mentioned before, February is a big month for pet health and pet awareness. There's actually 4 different things that I am aware of that February celebrates and makes people aware of. So first off, February is National Cat Health Month. So this awareness month was created to impart upon people the importance of cat health related issues, and the importance of getting them checked out by a veterinarian on a yearly basis. A fun little fact is that dog owners, 88% of dog owners will bring in their dogs to the veterinarian every year, but only 40% of cat owners will do that. So cats are definitely missing out on some of those examinations and opportunities to catch problems while they are still small. Why is that? Well, it's been said that dogs have owners and cats have a staff. So dogs are more than happy. Most of them are more than happy to, let's go for a ride. Hop in the car, stick their big heads out the windows or their little heads out the windows, let the air blow through their ears and smell everything that the city and the road has to offer on the drive to the vet. And they may not be really happy when they finally realize where they're at, but getting them in the car and getting them there was pretty easy. With cats, it's a whole other story, right? We have to get the cat carrier out. And as soon as you bring out that cat carrier, that cat knows what it is, and the first thing the cat thinks is, I didn't tell anyone we were going on a trip, and that cat goes and runs and hides. So now we have the cat carrier out, and now we have to go find the cat. And then once we do find the cat, we have to put it into the carrier, and it is amazing how all of a sudden that little cat can make itself about 4 times bigger with all of its arms and paws and legs to not go into that carrier. So that's challenge number 1. One of the ways that you can kind of help make that a little bit easier is to bring out the carrier the day beforehand and just leave it set out there so the cat sees it, gets a little bit used to it, and is more available for putting into the carrier at the time. Then we have to take the cat in the car, and some cats are great little travelers, mine are not. I hear meow, meow, meow the entire drive wherever we go, and then the first thing that my cat wants to do is poop and pee in the carrier, so now I'm going to have a messy carrier and a dirty, messy cat as soon as we get wherever we're going. One of the tricks that you can use to help avoid some of that is to change the litter box shortly before you go out of the house with your cat. Very few cats can resist a clean litter box and the opportunity to do something in there. Now, in my particular case with my cat Milo, he could have just been in that litter box and he'll still have a way of going to the bathroom in that carrier when we take off. So again, I'm not having a good time there. And then once the cat finally gets to the vet, not all of them are very happy to be there, and some of them are not very good patients. One of the ways that you can help make that trip, this entire process, a little bit easier is to get some sedation for your cat prior to the visit. Talk to your regular veterinarian about some sedatives for your cat and give those ahead of time, and that can make the whole process a whole lot easier for everybody. So February is National Cat Health Month. Important to get that exam, important to get your cat checked out, and then when they're over the age of 7, probably get some blood work checked out as well. Cats turn senior at 7. February is also Spay-Neuter Awareness Month. So that's very near and dear to the hearts of all of us here at Spay-Neuter Network, because this is one of the big things that we promote and that we make as available as possible to everybody in the community so everyone's pets can get spayed or neutered at an affordable price in a great setting, and everyone has a fantastic experience while it's happening. Why is it important that we spay and neuter our dogs and our cats? Well, the first reason, the biggest one here that we are concerned with at Spay-Neuter Network is pet overpopulation and unwanted pets. So the average cat will have a litter of 6 kittens, and the average dog will have a litter of 8 puppies every time they breed. So each of those puppies, by the time they are a year old, and sometimes sooner, we'll be able to breed and make another batch of puppies. So we have exponential growth of puppies and kitties, so anything that we can do makes a huge dent in the overpopulation problem. So that's reason number 1. Number 2, if you are a male dog, a young male dog, the most likely reason for a young male dog to die is from trauma, from getting hit by a car or getting into a fight with another animal. And that is because when they hit sexual maturity and that testosterone starts going through them, all of a sudden they say, there's a whole world that I have to go and mark. And they also will say, there's a dog in heat up the street and I'm going to go find her. And they will figure out a way to dig out of the yard or climb over the fence or get out of the house, get out of the yard somehow. So, and then they've got a one-track mind at that point in time, and bad things can happen. So neutering our male dogs will significantly reduce that desire to mark, that desire to roam, and the desire to get into a tussle with other dogs. So that's a very good thing for them. Having them neutered eliminates the risk of testicular cancer because we no longer have those testicles, we've removed them. And if I have a cryptorchid dog, which means that only one of the testicles has descended, those dogs are 13.6 times more likely to develop testicular cancer, which really means it's just a matter of time until it happens. So we do that while they're still young, get them neutered, and we eliminate that problem. Finally, and for our older dogs, just like in people, they will eventually get a big prostate gland, and that can cause problems with them defecating, urinating. Having them neutered prevents that from ever occurring. So those are all good reasons to have our dogs neutered. In the case of our male cats, about the age of 6 months is where they hit sexual maturity as well, and they say, I must now mark everything in sight. And male cat, tomcat urine does not smell good, and it is hard to get rid of it once it's there. So getting them neutered before they hit maturity, before 6 months of age, will make a huge difference in how happy you are at home. Spaying our dogs and our cats. We've already mentioned pet overpopulation as being a big reason to go ahead and do that. Other reasons are that we can avoid, if we do that prior to their first heat cycle, we can avoid them ever going into heat. Advantages there are that the surgery is much easier and less bloody. But prior to that first heat cycle, the tissues are all very small and do not have a lot of large blood vessels going to the uterus and the ovaries. So it's an easier procedure, and the pets can bounce back from it a lot faster. It prevents them from ever going into heat. So now, we have a dog that's bleeding, attracting other dogs to our house, making a mess in the house, and then that roaming dog is going to find a way to get into our yard when we least expect it, when we're not paying attention, and the next thing you know, 2 months later, like at my house when I was a little boy, you have 6 Schnauzer mutt puppies that no one anticipated and no one had planned on. And then the little boy, me, says, "Can we keep one?" And now you got a Schnauzer mutt puppy at the house that no one had planned on. So we can keep that unwanted litter from ever happening. We can avoid that heat cycle from ever happening. If we spay our dogs prior to their first heat cycle, we virtually eliminate the risk that they will ever develop mammary cancer. Mammary cancer is one of the most common cancers of an intact dog, and by the time it is diagnosed, it has typically spread to other organs about half of the time. So we can eliminate that risk of having to deal with mammary cancer by getting them spayed and neutered. The younger the better. The younger they are, the greater the benefit to prevent that cancer is. Finally, as a dog ages, the risk of it developing a condition called pyometra increases. Pyometra means an infection of the uterus, and this is a condition where the pet can very well die from it. It can cause a lot of electrolyte abnormalities. It can cause the uterus to rupture and can be very painful, and it's a bad way to go. So instead of spending thousands of dollars on getting our dog spayed when it has a pyometra and an increased risk of there being complications, we can go ahead and get that procedure done at Spay Neuter Network or anywhere where it's going to not cost nearly as much, and the pet is going to be healthy going into surgery and healthy coming out of surgery. So those are all a few things to keep in mind for Spay Neuter Awareness Month and why it is so important to go ahead and get that done for our pets. And let me remind you, month of February, feral cats, $20 spay neuter this month. So no reason not to get it done. You're never going to find a better price for a feral cat to get that procedure done, and it's so important. February is also Responsible Pet Owner Month. So there are lots of things that go into being a responsible pet owner. The three most obvious ones are always having fresh, clean water available no matter what. It's February, it still feels pretty nice, kind of cold right now, but it's going to warm up in Texas really, really fast. So they need to have plenty of water, and water can evaporate really, really fast as well. So access to water all the time. Number two, we have to feed our dogs. They need to eat. We need to feed them a good food, and make sure make sure we're doing that. We also need to be aware, though, of overfeeding our dogs, because dogs and cats both, they love to eat, and they will usually eat as much food as you put in front of them until they can eat no more. And that leads to an obese pet. And just like in people, obesity plays a big role in all kinds of health problems that our pets can develop. So one of the things that we want to bear in mind is that when we are evaluating our dogs and our cats, we want to, if you look at them from the top down, they should look like little hourglasses where you can see their ribs, where you can see their chest, and then it kind of tucks in at their waist, and then it flares back out again at their hips. So it's kind of like a little hourglass. And when we pet them, we should be able to easily feel their ribs when we pet their chest, but not see their ribs. And that's the sign, typically, of a dog that's in great body condition. That's what we're shooting for. And finally, we have to provide our dogs with shelter. So, if your dog is inside, great. Most of the time they go outside and do their business and play, whatever. That's wonderful. If they're outside dogs or outside cats, that's fine too. They need to have a place where they can go to get out of the rain, get out of the wind, get out of the sun, get out of the cold. So some kind of little hidey place for them where all of those things can happen is very important. There are so many other things that we could talk about that go into responsible pet ownership. A few of those are making sure that they're on some sort of parasite control, fleas and ticks. It's not been very cold this winter, so there's been practically no die-off of fleas and ticks, so they are just ready for it to warm up and go to town on our pets. It has not been cold enough for there to be a significant dent in the mosquito population. Mosquitoes spread heartworm disease from to dogs and cats, so we want to have them on heartworm prevention. And it's important that our pets get exercise, and just like with little kids, pets like to have boundaries and know what to expect. So one of the key things to do for enrichment in our pets and having those boundaries is just to do some basic obedience training with them. And I'm not talking about anything crazy. I'm talking about sit, stay, and come. And if a dog can do those three things and do them on command, that is a dog that understands that you're in charge, and that they will do those things when you ask them to, and they are more than happy to receive the pets, the hugs, the treats, anything after they do it correctly. Remember, dogs have owners, and dogs just love us. Not so easy to do with cats because we're the cat's butlers, the cat's staff, so they're going to do what they want to do. It can be done, but it's not easy. Okay, so finally, the last thing in February is also Pet Dental Health Month. So, the depending on what study you look at and what year it is, dental health, periodontal disease is the number one or number two underdiagnosed problem with pets that there is. The other is usually obesity, a pet that's overweight. So there are some easy things that we can do at home to help maintain our dog and cat's oral health. There are additives that you can put in their water. There are dog and cat toothbrushes with delicious dog and cat chicken flavor or liver flavored toothpaste. Don't use that yourself, but they will like it, and it will make them more tolerant of getting their teeth brushed. This is especially easy to do if you start it young, when they're little puppies and kitties, and they just get used to the way that feels. And then there's also a variety of different types of treats that will help remove plaque and tartar. When you are looking for those things, you want to look for a label that says VOHC approved. That is Veterinary Oral Health Council label, and that means that it's gotten the stamp of approval by veterinarians that specialize in dental health. So those will be you will get the most value by looking for products that have a VOH stamp of approval on them. So, lots of things to be aware of and keep in mind in February. Let's take a look at some questions that we have, and I've got a couple queued up here already. And one of them is, does Dawn dish soap really help get rid of fleas? And the answer is a qualified yes. So, what does Dawn dish soap do? We've all seen it in the commercials. They get the little animals that are covered in oil and they give them the bath in the Dawn dish soap and it cleans them up. And that is because soap decreases the surface tension of liquids, which means that it makes them less sticky in the case of oil, or able to slide off of the pet more easily. So what that means for our animals that have fleas is that if we give them a bath with Dawn dish soap, it reduces the surface tension of water, which means that the fleas will drown. Fleas are light enough that they will float on water. If they just hop on water, they won't drown. They'll just kind of skip around there until they finally hit land and are able to get out of the water. So when we give them a bath with the dish soap, we are making it so that the fleas will actually sink into the water and they drown. And that is how Dawn dish soap will get rid of the fleas. There's nothing in it that is a magical flea killer property. It's that we are making it so that the fleas all drown. What that means is that it is only going to work on the fleas that are currently on the pet. If we are in an area where there are a lot of fleas, as soon as that pet is rinsed off, potentially fleas can start jumping back on them and they're going to be perfectly fine. There's no residual effect with it. It does nothing to the flea eggs. So it is a good product if you find some pet and it has fleas, or it's a small puppy or kitten and it's too young to receive any of the flea treatments. It's a good way to get those fleas off of them right then before you can get them to see a vet, or until they get a little bit older that we can use some of the products that we're able to prescribe. But it is not going to be a good long-term solution, and it is going to, if you use it too often, it will irritate the pet's skin. So that's how Dawn dish soap works. It is a great sort of first aid type of a thing for fleas, but it's not going to be what you want to rely on. Another question that we've had is, what can I use to bring back hair on hot spots that my dog has previously had? So that is, there's a lot of things that are dependent on that question. So hair has a hard time growing in skin that is irritated or inflamed. So if the hot spot is not completely cleared up, the hair is not going to grow back until that happens. Once that hot spot is cleared up, there was a study that was done in Labrador retrievers where they clipped hair on them during different times of the year and saw how fast that hair would grow back. And in every case, it was just over 3 months before the hair would fully grow back in, or sometimes before it would even really start to grow back in. So you should not expect it to happen very quickly if it's going to happen. If we have an area where the skin was actually really damaged and like almost destroyed, and that skin has healed up into scar tissue, it's unlikely that hair will ever grow there. But a couple of things that you can do to help promote hair growth are to feed a diet that has a higher protein content, because hair is made out of protein, so that will if the dog's body has enough protein for muscles and the things that it needs to do, then the leftover protein can get used for hair growth. And that would be the most effective thing that you could do. There are some topical vitamin E oils that you could add on. You wouldn't want your pet to ingest that, so you might rub that in and then rinse it off with some water. That may help, but regardless, it's going to take time for that hair to grow back. Other questions that we have had. This is a good one for cats, since it's cat month. My cat eats very fast occasionally, causing him to throw up immediately after he eats. How do I get him to slow down? That's a great question. This happens with my own cats. There are a lot of things that you can try. Some of them will be effective for, cats are very individual, so some of them are going to be more effective than others depending on what your exact situation. But one of the things that you can do is to spread out the food so that the cat has to work a little bit harder to get them. And one of the ways that I do this is just to get a paper plate instead of a bowl and put the food on the plate. Now, when the cat goes to eat, some of the food's going to roll away from their nose. They're going to have to kind of go after it a little bit. It forces them to eat more slowly because they have to get little individual kibbles rather than just taking big mouthfuls from a little bowl. They make slow feeder bowls, those that kind of look like a little maze. And so the animal has to work its tongue and work its nose around in all these little grooves and crevices to get the food. So that will slow them down. There are some portion control feeders that you could look into, and what they will do is give a certain amount of food at a certain time, so the cat can only eat as much as it's offered from the machine. You can, if you have a food bowl and don't want to invest in anything, you can put little obstacles in that bowl. So one thing would be like nothing so small that the cat could eat it and accidentally swallow it, but you can put things like little golf balls or ping pong balls in their bowl. So now they have to work around this little obstacle in order to get the food. So it slows them down as well. And then finally, some cats are competitive eaters. So if you're feeding all of your cats, if you have more than one cat and you're feeding them in the same spot, they may try to race each other to the bottom of the food bowl to see if they can get to the other food bowl before the other cat does. So separating them when they eat may be a good idea. Another question: petting my cat in the winter and static electricity. So static electricity occurs when the air is dry and when the air is cold. So this is the perfect time for cats to get very staticky, and we've all done it too, where we walk across a carpet or whatever and we touch something and it shocks us. Same thing can happen to cats. Does a static electric shock hurt the cat? No, it does not cause any actual physical harm, but just the same way we feel it and we go, whoa, ow, whatever, the cat will do that same thing, and it's running off like, why did you do that to me? So one of the things that will make a big difference is because the problem occurs with dry air, it's drier in the wintertime and we have our heaters blowing, is to use a humidifier. And this will not only, this will make the air in the area of the humidifier moister, so the air is less dry. Something that you can do is use hand lotion on your hands frequently, because if your hands are not dry, if your hands are moist, and when you pet the cat, that will make it less likely to elicit a static charge. And then frequent brushing will also, if we get rid of a lot of the dead hair, that will help, and old hair, that will help with that. We are quickly running out of time. One other question related to cats and cold weather. My cat gets dandruff when it's cold outside. Not anything to be concerned about. This is just like with the electricity. It is because of the dry air. The turnover rate of the hair is faster because it's trying to keep itself healthy. So as a result, we see all these dead hair cells, skin cells, all these dead skin cells on the hair, and they get that dandruff. Won't hurt them. A humidifier can help reduce that, and when the weather gets more humid and warmer, it should subside. In the meantime, frequent brushing of your cat will help to reduce that as well. And I apologize, we have had almost no time here to go over any of the questions that y'all have posted. My Chihuahua eats too fast and he's 2 months old. We just talked about, just like with the cats, it's the same types of things that you can do for your Chihuahua, for your little dogs, to get them to slow down. How often should you brush your dog's or cat's teeth? The official recommendation is once a day. The reality, the real answer is anything is better than nothing. So as often as you can, but once a day is good. One final question, when should a dog get their first dental? We'll usually say that should happen at about 2 years of age. They have had all of their adult teeth in place for about a year, and this is the time now that we want to start getting that plaque and tartar off of their teeth. Thank you all so much for joining me. I know we talked about a lot of things, and remember that any other details that you need to find out about any events with Spay Neuter Network and any follow-up with anything, go to our website at spayneuternet.org. Y'all have a fantastic month, and we will see you again in March. Bye-bye.